Mindy Stern is a screenwriter and personal essayist in Los Angeles who hates writing bios but loves eating pizza. She's honored to be here sharing her story. Ladies and gentlemen, Mindy Stern.
Earlier, there had been a lot of cocaine on my table. The shitty IKEA hand-me-down that wiggled when I touched it, of course it was gone. I mean, who the fuck leaves leftover Coke? Who doesn't rub their fingers in its dust, then rub it across their gums, making sure they got every last drop. Anyway, there was no blow left on the table, but there was my diaphragm on the bathroom counter and a man in my bed. There should have been a spermicide-covered diaphragm in my vagina, not an unused one on the cracking tile counter. Alas, there I was, a total fucking mess. I knew I got pregnant that night. I don't know how I knew. Maybe the wisdom of a smart young woman who understood how things work, maybe intuition. Maybe I was a young woman who should have known better. I should have known better because I came into this world unwanted and unprepared for. That night in 1991, standing in my studio apartment, looking out at the Washington Monument, admiring how it glowed against a phosphorescent sky, I knew I was not having that fucking baby. I would not bring a human being into my mess, and I sure as hell would not give it away. Because being adopted, it fucked me up. How could I be worthy of, deserving of a good life, a meaningful life, if I wasn't worthy of my own mother's love? How could I ever be good enough if I wasn't good enough to keep? I didn't know yet that my first mother was also 23 when an unplanned pregnancy changed her life. Maybe I got pregnant that night, the same age as her, because it was my only way of understanding her, knowing her, connecting to her. So I called my parents. My father, an OBGYN, arranged a perfect abortion in a hospital far from his, a rich girl abortion, general anesthesia to knock me the fuck out. His adopted daughter would not suffer the consequence of memory, and he would not suffer the consequence of shame again. At 16, I wanted to die, so I swallowed a bottle of pills. But I changed my mind, so I called a friend, and she called 911, and paramedics came, and an ambulance with flashing lights rushed me to the hospital. The same hospital where my father worked, the same hospital where he delivered thousands of babies. I laid in the emergency room, the flimsy sheet pulled closed for privacy, and puked my guts into a plastic pail. My dad came in and yelled, "Why are you doing this to me?" I remember his face, the way his broken, angry eyes stared at me. I puked shame and he puked rage, and my mother sat silent and impotent, as she always did. I didn't know yet that my father's mother died by suicide. I didn't know that one day when he was 23, he emerged from a subway to see paramedics surrounding his mother's body splattered on a Brooklyn sidewalk. I didn't know yet the complex dance of nature and nurture, the unrivaled magic of DNA, or the gift of grace. I didn't know yet the power of truth to heal my shattered soul. But I did know one thing. I knew I needed to find my first mother. I needed answers, I needed information, and I needed her. So at 23, several weeks after my abortion and 7 years after my suicide attempt, I began my search. And I moved to Los Angeles because everyone knows the best way to stop doing cocaine is to move to LA. I was born in 1968. My adoption was closed, my record sealed, my original birth certificate locked away and changed to a small yellow piece of paper with my adoptive parents' names. No time or place of birth, evidence of my being born erased. Knowing your story is a basic human right, denied every adoptee of closed adoption. My parents adopted me through the infamous Louise Wise Agency for Families and Children. You may know it from the documentary Three Identical Strangers. At the time, Louise Wise was the premier Jewish adoption agency. They promised Jewish hopeful adoptive parents healthy, well-matched Jewish children they could pass off as their own. Louise Wise told my parents my first mother kept me for 3 months, that she tried to be my mom before realizing she couldn't manage single motherhood. Cannot blame her. I grew up believing my birth mother held me and loved me, that she tried her best to parent me, but Louise Wise lied. Would you tell an OBGYN and his schoolteacher wife they were getting a baby born to a woman who didn't know she was pregnant, a woman who received no prenatal care? Would you tell a doctor his soon-to-be daughter spent the first 3 weeks of her life in the NICU because she had chlamydia in her eyes, that she contracted the clap traveling through the birth canal? Would you tell them this baby spent 3 months in foster care? Would you tell them psychologists studied her to see how a baby born under those circumstances developed? My first mother, Gloria, was a stunning, well-educated, sophisticated 23-year-old woman with a nasty eating disorder. A debutante with a penchant for fashion martinis and men who longed for life beyond the oppressive expectations of Memphis society. Gloria Gerwin moved to New York City with dreams, big dreams. On January 12, 1968, one of the coldest days in New York City history, Gloria called her best friend Alexa. "Something is terribly wrong," Gloria said. Alexa braved the chill and rushed to Gloria's apartment on Lexington Avenue. She found her friend writhing in pain. Alexa insisted Gloria go to the hospital, but Gloria protested. She hated doctors, didn't want them to know about the pills, the amphetamines, the binging and purging, the this and that. But the pain was too great, and Gloria relented. Gloria's brother, Tom, also lived in New York, so Alexa called him. He met them at the hospital. Alexa sat in the waiting room while Tom accompanied Gloria. Hours passed before Tom emerged and told Alexa Gloria was fine. "She's having surgery to remove an intestinal blockage," he said. C'est moi. Intestinal blockage. On January 11th, 1995, at 50, Gloria died of colon cancer. A massive intestinal blockage killed her. She died 9 months after being diagnosed, and she died 1 day before my 27th birthday. On my bad days, I think I killed her. On my good days, I think adoption did. Gloria died before I found her. She never had other children and told no one about me. Not her husband of 23 years, nor Alexa, who remained her friend for life. Not her parents, and not my first father, who was devastated to learn he had a daughter he didn't know about. "I would have raised you if I knew," were his first words to me. In 1990, at 42, Gloria's brother Tom died of a heart attack, because secrets make everyone sick. Adoption promised Gloria and I a better life. But adoption's promise of a better life isn't based on fact. It's based on hope. Adoption promised Gloria she would move on. It assured her forgetting. Adoption promised Gloria the same amnesia that anesthesia gave me when I aborted my fetus. But the thing about bringing a human being into this world is, you don't forget. How could you? And I did not have a better life because my parents adopted me. I had a different life. I did not feel loved when told, "She loved you so much, she gave you away." I felt afraid that everyone who loved me would leave me. I did not feel chosen, because to be chosen by one is to be discarded by another. I did not feel whole when I looked in the mirror and wondered who I looked like. I felt like an alien floating alone in a dark abyss. Before it is anything else, adoption is loss. Because for adoption to form one family, it had to break another. Adoptees are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than non-adopted people. We arrive at our adoptive parents with a crack in our foundation. Some of us live our lives never feeling the effects of that crack, and some of us spend a lifetime trying to patch it. It took me 26 years to find my family, and I only did so because of the internet, commercial DNA, and my willingness to call strangers and say, "Hi, so I know you didn't know about me, but," and hope they didn't hang up. Without my willingness to face rejection and humiliation, and I faced both, I would not know about my risk for colon cancer or my family history of mental illness. I would not know my father is Episcopalian and my outspoken lefty politics come from him. I would not know why I have fat toes or why I love fashion martinis and men. I would not know me. Finding Gloria and Hal, my two half-sisters, Sara and Sophie, changed my life. The truth, even its ugliest parts, healed me. My story made me whole. It fixed my shattered soul. I look exactly like Gloria, so does my daughter. My son looks exactly like Hal. Hal's father, my grandfather, was a writer. His first job writing for television was an original TV movie. My first job writing for television was an original TV movie that premieres in May. And Gloria was a well-educated 23-year-old party girl who should have known better, just like me. But perhaps the most amazing thing, the most unbelievable thing of my story is that it's true. You can move to Los Angeles and stop doing cocaine.